An old woman intentionally knocked out her front teeth and then ran to her daughter-in-law, exclaiming that all her teeth had fallen out. She even went around the village bragging about it. You see, there was an unwritten rule in the village. Any elder over 60 years old must be carried up the mountain by their eldest son. This way, the food saved could help the rest of the family survive the harsh winter. However, the old woman never dreamed that despite being only 59, her daughter-in-law was already impatient to get rid of her. When she tried to add firewood, her daughter-in-law snatched it away. When she turned to grind beans, she was pushed aside with disdain. It was clear this family no longer needed her. Not wanting to make things difficult for her son, the old mother decided to leave. Before departing, she took her daughter-in-law to a hidden creek teeming with fish and shrimp, enough to get the family through the bitter cold. That evening, she invited the village elders to her home and announced she would ascend the mountain the next day. Worried her son might get lost, she even inquired about the detailed route. Hearing this, her son's heart felt pierced. Even at this moment, his mother was still thinking of him, but this was the village custom. If not followed, the whole family would be buried alive. Before setting off, the old mother took off her cotton jacket and left it for the children to stay warm. At daybreak, with a heavy heart, the son had no choice but to carry her on this final journey. The old mother, dressed in white, quietly accepted her fate. Chen Ping walked extremely slowly, constantly looking back in the direction of home. His mother, knowing he was stalling for time, gently patted his shoulder, urging him onward. They passed mountain paths and dense forests. In the past, he never understood why his father had been so reluctant to carry grandma up the mountain. But now, as he personally carried his mother towards this dead end, he truly felt the heartbreak his father must have endured. The road to Mount Narayama was rugged and difficult. Chen Ping's feet were cut by branches, and his mother tore off a piece of her pant leg for him to bandage the wounds. During breaks, Chen Ping would stop to rest or fetch water from cliff walls. Once, while getting water, he turned back to find his mother gone without a trace. He secretly hoped she had gotten scared and fled back home. Relief washed over him as a furtive smile appeared on his face. But when he returned, he found his mother still sitting there quietly. She silently took out a wooden board, signaling for him to continue on. After a long while, they gradually neared the summit. Undergrowth disappeared beneath their feet, leaving only loose sandy soil. The end was getting closer and closer. Chen Ping seemed to forget the rule about not speaking.
ほらいらねえ。おっかは。ご先祖さんはせ、何百年もここ通っちゃ、お山行っただな。何百人も、何千人もだな。もっとかな。あと25年すりゃ、ほら行くだな。毛先氏にしょわれて。それから25年すりゃ、今朝行くだ。どうしようもねえだ。
This usually taciturn man was now talking non-stop. His mother just listened quietly, then urged him to keep moving. Finally, Chen Ping reached the end point, the place villagers spoke of as the altar of the mountain god. Looking up, a shocking sight met his eyes. The valley was filled with ghastly white human bones, the remains of generations of elders abandoned here. Granny Ailing chose a spot with fewer bones and motioned for him to stop. Chen Ping just stood there rigidly, unwilling to put his mother down until she shook the wooden board, urging him on. Only then did he move his feet with great difficulty. His mother calmly sat down on the straw mat she laid out. Chen Ping took out a package of food and tried to hand it to her several times, but she wouldn't take it. As his mother helped him up, tears welled in Chen Ping's eyes. She touched his hand in a final farewell. He could no longer hold back and hugged his mother, sobbing. When leaving, he followed the village rule of not looking back, not knowing his mother was also shedding silent tears behind him. On the way home, he saw Mr. Ayu's son also taking his father up the mountain. But instead of entering the valley, Ayu's son stopped here at the cliff's edge. It suddenly dawned on Chen Ping. This precipice was the Valley of Tears the elders spoke of last night. He was shocked to realize there were likely even more elders buried here than the bones on the mountain. Lost in thought, snowflakes began drifting from the sky. He stood there dazed for a long time. Then, disregarding the village rule, he suddenly ran towards the valley where his mother was. According to legend, if it snowed while ascending the mountain, it was a sign of the mountain god's compassion, meaning the elder would find peace after death. When Chen Ping returned home that night, it was as if nothing had ever happened. His son had already brought back a new woman, and his wife Ayu was even wearing his mother's clothes. He thought dejectedly, in 25 years, Jiasaji would carry him up the mountain just like today. When that time came, would he wait quietly for death or be pushed off the cliff? He didn't know the answer. All he could do was live and wait for that moment to arrive.